A year ago today, I released a video titled "The Future of This Hardcore Survival Game Just Got Way Brighter." And in that video, I covered the news that the developers of Deadside, Bad Pixel, had entered into a publisher agreement with TinyBuild. And not only that, Bad Pixel would be a part of the TinyBuild family, but would remain a separate studio to continue working on Deadside. Now, this was a move that would accelerate the development of Deadside exponentially, according to them, allowing the team to scale up, get more frequent updates to the game, while getting more back-end support from TinyBuild. And the community was excited. This finally meant the progress on Deadside would move at a faster rate. But the question I had earlier this month in 2022, what was going on with Deadside? Truth be told, for me, I got over 100 hours of the game at launch and felt like I had seen everything that there was to see, and there's nothing wrong with that. The game was great fun for our community in the early days, but it definitely ran its course when we bled the game dry of all of its content. We played it all. I was definitely ready for a break as things were coming to the game, but they were coming very slowly. So it's been a year. Has this partnership with TinyBuild actually helped the game out? What's the current state of Deadside in 2022, and what's coming in the future? I'm here to recap last year's Deadside updates and show you what's coming next. My name is BigFry. Let's get into it. It started in October of 2021. Alex from TinyBuild kind of opened the doors and gave us some transparency on things that were going on within this restructuring of Bad Pixel. He talked about how to scale a team, the challenges with netcode in building a game out. They acknowledged the fact that the community was waiting for vehicles and have been wanting it for quite a long time. At this point, about a year and a half. And this update was a lot of words, but not a lot of showcasing, and more or less just kind of opening the doors as to what they're first going to be tackling now that TinyBuild is kind of controlling this company. Shortly after that, we got a Halloween update with themed skins, a familiar mask and helmets from last year, and 28 new wonderfully eerie weapon skins. They also showed a few new points of interest with a town next to the power plant, various level design changes around the map, some rebalancing of weapons, and various fixes. That took us to December of 2021, where they finally showcased the roadmap for what's coming in 2022. And in that roadmap, they kind of laid out a lot of what they're going to be working on within the next year. Technical foundation and groundwork, spawn system overhauls, resources and craft system redesign and expansions, PvE events, missions, map density and expansion, weapon systems and content overhauls, base building systems and rating overhauls, vehicles, and 100 players per server. Earlier this year in January, they finally brought the public testing servers online so that they can test these patches before they roll out to the public. February 1st of this year, they brought in a new respawn system as well as a force wipe. The respawn system allowed you to choose a respawn point around the map, so it's not as random and it's a little bit more controlled. They also integrated Steam audio into the game, and they increased the availability of zones for base building. A month later, in early March, they dropped a new update 0.2.7, which brought in things like respawn beacons that can be placed within the vicinity of any base. And this allows you to spawn back at home. And with this update, they also brought in universal inventory slots, binoculars, hidden stashes, and bearing finders, as well as new weapon recoil systems and a complete weapon rebalancing. Literally a month later, in early April, we got version 0.2.8, which brought in a ton of new locations: Zalezno, Lamovo, Bochki, Voron, Mayak, Turnovo, Balota, Vostok. They've also added more respawn points to accompany all of these new locations, as well as new rivers, which set up different waterways throughout all of these locations with these peninsulas. Almost a month to the day, on May 5th, they now brought in 0.2.9, which added fast travel between the safe zones, which is something that we would have loved to see in the early days, and now it's finally there. Now you can move goods from the north safe zone down to the south using a mine shaft system. And with this update, they also brought back the use of dog tags. In order for you to use the mine shaft system to jump from the south safe zone to the north, you had to pay with this apocalyptic currency, a long-awaited quality of life improvement that significantly increases the speed and ease of using weapons in your inventory. Now you can store and carry guns with attached modifications and scope equipment in assembled form. Before, if your weapons had any sort of attachment on them, you had to pull them all off before you could store the weapon in a locker or in your backpack, and it was a pain in the ass. They also brought in new achievements, a new pistol first-person animation system, and a plethora of bug fixes. You guys are starting to see the pattern here that every month since this announcement was made, there has been significant progress on Deadside. And at this point, I had been loosely following along with Deadside because I was waiting for something a little bit more impactful. These quality of life improvements, animation changes, more points of interest, that was cool, but I was waiting for something to really bring me back in. And so far, we hadn't hit that yet. In June, they had a new base building system, a workbench, and Steam inventory update in 0.3. They've completely redesigned the base building to make the process of constructing a shelter more comfortable and faster, especially if you prefer team play. They also added in a workbench, which at the time really only allowed you to apply camouflages on clothes, and the functionality was planned to be expanded in the future. They also improved particle effects from bullets and a plethora of fixes and different changes to the game. July's update brought us a ton of fixes and quality of life changes, including improvements to things like base building, adding the ability to climb through certain windows, new meshes, textures, and materials of storage boxes, and a ton of other camouflage applications for the workbench. A post on August 17th showed off the improved gunplay work in progress, including weapon rebalancing, weapon durability, new sound effects, animations, and effects that you guys can see on your screen here. It's looking pretty solid. With this update, all weapons in the game will have an individual pattern of recoil and spread, emphasizing the identity of each gun. They were also planning to bring in durability, repairing, and disassembly of weapons. So they're getting a little bit more in depth with the actual gunplay of the game. Now, earlier this month, they showed off the military flask and the water collector, which were still work in progress, as well as survivor camps that are going to be littered around the map. And all of these updates were coming in their upcoming 0.4 release. And that brings us to now. With a pretty major update happening on almost a monthly basis at this point since the announcement, I'm happy to say that my initial prospect of TinyBuild entering in this space was correct. This game has a bright future, and it's proven by the last year of updates that this game has had. But the question that I always get from people who are fans of Deadside is, why is BigFry not covering these updates? And the truth is, I got myself burned out early on. There wasn't a lot to the game, but our community made it work within the confines of what we had, and I burned myself out. Deadside was a game that, even though they would bring in things like, better base building or better weapons and more points of interest, it was still the same core experience that I had already experienced for all that it was worth. I was waiting for a large map expansion. I was waiting for vehicles. I was waiting for more survival elements to make that experience not just spawn in, run, kill AI, kill players, die, and rinse and repeat. There needed to be something to really keep me engaged in that world, and it just wasn't there yet. With this upcoming 0.5 update at the end of October, we're finally going to be seeing our first piece of vehicle gameplay with hoverboats. Now, I will say I'm happy to see that there are vehicles finally being implemented into this game. I was waiting for more of, ATVs or military transports or just, four-wheeled vehicles that can kind of traverse the landscapes. Hoverboats is a nice touch, but that being said, it's still not that full transport experience that I've been waiting for, but that's not a bad thing. I have been waiting for a year to talk about this game, and this is where we're at. Hoverboats are coming at the end of October, with wheeled transport to follow. I don't know when, and they haven't explained their plans for it, but I'm hoping that it's soon. And with update 0.5.1, I know there's a lot of numbers being thrown out there. They're now going to be bringing a map expansion over the islands to the north, and that is supposed to be landing sometime in mid-November. You can access these islands via hoverboats or by land via a bridge and that's actually really, really cool. The update 0.4 that's going to be hitting at the beginning of October is delivering a complete weapon and gunplay overhaul, pattern-based recoil and spread, punchy new AR and SMG shooting animations, new sound reverb for indoor locations, weapon jamming probability, and repairing and disassembling using the workbench. That is the implementation ramp up for the workbench. But with that update, they're also going to be bringing more survival mechanics to the table: duck hunting and fishing, cooking meat and fish over the fire, water collectors for bases, and more. Deadside is a game that started off in a really good state and was a really slow progression, but once they got on with TinyBuild, I knew that that was when the tide was going to change, and it absolutely has. This is literally a year to the day since I put out my last Deadside video, and I'm happy to say that me taking a break from the game, watching these guys just work, has been actually pretty dope to see. Every update that they brought out has brought in a few really cool things and a bunch of quality of life fixes. And for me covering every single update, it probably didn't look like there was a lot of progress being made, but when you wait and you just allow the developers to work and do what they need to do, let the publisher come in, restructure the studio, allow them to scale the team up and give them the resources to make this work, you get some pretty magical results. Deadside is in a state now where after this mid-November update, I feel like I want to go back in and play the game again. I got a nice break from it, so everything coming in here, there's going to be new points of interest, new survival mechanics, hoverboats. There is a lot of content that I haven't seen yet, and I could jump in now and get a little taste of it, but I'd rather wait for a bigger picture. That's just who I am. But I'm happy to say that Deadside is actually well on its way to being a full-fledged survival game, and they're killing it. And it's kind of crazy. Earlier this week, I just got the itch to find out what's been going on with Deadside in the last couple of months. I was following them earlier this year into March and April, and then I just kind of fell off. And then I realized that it's actually been 365 days since I have dropped an update on this title, and I still get questions about it to this day. So, ladies and gentlemen, that is the update for Deadside in 2022. There's a lot of improvements. There's a lot of quality of life changes, and there's a lot of content there that I haven't covered in the last year. And like I said, after this mid-November update drops where we get hoverboats, we get the new points of interest, the island expansion, I'm going to be jumping back in. If you guys enjoyed the video, please leave a like on it down below. It helps the channel out. If you didn't like the video, you can leave a dislike on it. Leave a comment telling me how much you hate me. I don't care. I don't care. Become a channel member for 99 cents a month, and you guys can see a few screenshots that we've released to our channel members for our upcoming FPS that we're planning to release next year. My name is BigfryTV. Thank you guys for watching. Have a great day, and I'll see you on the next one.